In the days before the graphing calculators, when I went to school, those problems that couldn't be worked out the other ways that we've shown you, by factoring or by using the square root method, we had to solve using this formula called the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is this big formula. It's x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So if you remember, we have standard form is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So in this case, there's a 1 in front of here, right? We've worked with that before. A is equal to 1, B is equal to 8, and C is equal to negative 7. So you can solve any problem by taking these values and plugging it into this equation and then solving it out. So let me show you how that works. So minus B would be negative 8, plus and minus, so that means we're going to have two problems to do here. B squared would be 8 squared minus 4 times whatever A is times whatever C is, all over 2 times whatever A is, which is 1. Alright, so to work this on the calculator, you go into the regular calculator, and you're going to do this in parts. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work this section underneath here. And it has a name. It's called the discriminant. And the reason why we're going to do that first is a couple. One, it makes it easier to type everything in. The other is because if this is 0 or negative, then we don't have to work the rest of the problem. Or we can work it simpler. Okay, so if this, let's just see what that's going to end up being. So we have 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 7. And you can put all the parentheses. That would probably even be safer. Or you can just do the time signs. And so what goes under here is negative 92. So we go minus 8 plus and minus the square root of 92 all over 2. Okay, so now I just have to type those in. Negative 8 plus the square, negative 8 plus the square root of 92, enter, and divide by 2. If you go ahead and divide by 2, it's only going to divide this part by 2. So you have to do enter first. So the plus part is x is equal to 0.80 by the time I round it. And then I do the other part. I go negative 8 minus the square root of 92, enter, divide by 2, and I get my other answer. X is equal to negative 8.8. Okay? So plugging all these values in allows you to get these two answers. The other way you could do this, which is probably just as good at this point, is to do it the other way we did. So you have x squared plus 8x minus 7. And you go and you graph that, and it's going to be decimals. So we go second calculate, intersection, enter, enter, enter. Oops, I didn't put the equal 0, so it's not going to work. I have to put the equal 0 or that method doesn't work. Alright, so second calculate, intersection, enter, enter, enter. I get one of my answers, the 0.795, which I rounded to 0.80. And then second calculate, intersection, If you hit enter first one time, you can move this thing over just straight across. You don't have to do that. Enter, enter, and that gives me my other answer, the negative 8.8. Okay, so both of those are a little bit of work. Probably it's a little bit faster to do it on the calculator with the graph, but we're supposed to learn this, and it may show up on the EOC just in terms of plugging it in. What does it look like? So I'd like you to at least do those for a few of them to plug them in. I'll be walking around and checking and making sure you can at least plug the formula in. All right, so on this one, A is equal to 3, B is equal to 4, and C is equal to 1. So our formula again is minus B plus or minus B square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. You can tell I had to use that a lot. I have it memorized still after all these years. So we have minus whatever A is, plus and minus the square root of B squared. Oops, I actually did that wrong. I'm sorry. It's what B is, which is 4. Sorry. So B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times what A is. So I always do the discriminant first. So that is going to be 4 squared minus 4 times 3 times 1 which equals 4. So it's minus 4 plus and minus the square root of 4 all over 6. Okay, so this one is actually, square root of 4 is 2, so it's minus 4 plus and minus 2 all over 6. So this one we could do pretty easily in the calculator. So negative 4 plus 2 divided by 6 is negative 0.33333, so x is equal to negative 0.333. And then the other one, it would be negative 4 minus 2 divided by 6. And the answer would be x is equal to negative 1. Alright, even though this video is getting long, I'm going to show you one more because I want you to see how this works. Okay, so the formula again is minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So, a is 1, b is negative 2, and c is 7. Alright, so I have minus 2, which would be positive 2, or you can type it in the calculator that way, minus square root of negative 2 squared. It's important that you put these in parentheses or you're going to get a wrong answer. Minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times 1. Alright. So let's see what happens here when I do the discriminant, this part under the square root sign. Because something's going to happen here. If you think on this one, negative 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times 7. That's right, I'm going to get a negative number. So, this minus a negative 2 is just 2 plus and minus the square root of negative 24 all over 2. But, because this is negative, the answer is no solution. And the reason is, if I try to go square root of negative 24, I get an error. It says there's no real answer. There are imaginary answers, which sounds funny, but you'll learn about those if you take Algebra 2 or pre-calculus. But there are no real answers. There is nothing that is a square root of a negative number. If we graph this one on the calculator, you'll see what else happens. X squared minus 2x plus 7. When we graph this, and you see that the parabola never hits the y equals 0 line. There is no solution. There is no time when this equals 0. All right? So I'll leave the rest of them for you to do. This video has gotten kind of long. You can either plug in with the formula, which is fine. I'd like to see you do a couple of those, and I'll be spot check, walking around and helping. I'll do that. Or you can plug them into the calculator. Just remember, some of them may be no solution. So if this is negative, if the discriminant is negative, it's no solution. Another thing that didn't come up on one of these, but if the discriminant is 0, then there's only one solution. It'll be touching the x-axis. All right, so you can finish up the rest of them.